What's shaking, cats and kittens? Thank you for supporting my podcast and my sustaining partners. I want to tell you about one of them right now, Charmington Holistics. Do you know what an apothecary is? Well, an apothecary makes and provides medicines. Charmington Holistics specializes in all natural herbal remedies and is an apothecary. So, what's ailing you? Can't sleep? Got a stomach ache? Got the blues? Well, head on over to Charmington Holistics where you can find herbal support for anything you need. A personal blended tea, herbal tonic, and supplements can offer you an alternative to that Advil bottle, while an in-house herbalist listens to your needs as well. Charmington Holistics is your source for all things herbal. Head on over to 425 South Conklin Street in Highlandtown or visit Charmington Holistics on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok. And Charmington Holistics is open 12 to 5 on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. Head on over, check them out, tell them Rob Lee sent you. Welcome to Getting to the Truth in This Art. I am your host, Rob Lee, and today's guest is the owner of a restaurant with an eclectic approach to comfort cuisine, featuring fresh ingredients and creative combinations with a nod to the Caribbean. That's Water for Chocolate. Please welcome Chef Sean Guy.
Thanks for having me. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm actually a little hungry, so talking to you doesn't help actually, because I know we want to talk about food a little bit.
Absolutely.
But thank you for making the time, and I'm glad we're able to get this interview in. So I like to start off with getting those vital stats. For the fine folks out there who are uninitiated and unfamiliar with your background and your restaurant, let the folks know, who are you? What are you doing? What's the whole situation?
Okay, so I'm executive chef, owner of Water for Chocolate. We've been in Upper Fells Point since 2006. We're going into our 16th year. And what we have to offer is, comfort cuisines, food that you grew up with an interesting and new take on it, utilizing all fresh ingredients, no fryers, no microwaves. And we just try to put a good product out.
I like that. And so, you touched on like the comfort food being that food that you're just familiar with. So what are examples for like comfort food that you grew up with that you may have implemented into your menu? And why do you think comfort food is so popular?
Oh, okay. That's two questions. So the reason why I think it's so popular is like, with any other artist, right? Like a musical artist, for example, you buy their music because something they're singing resonates with you. It takes you back to a place when you grew up, or it takes you back to a relationship where something went on, and you buy that music because whatever they're saying endears you to them. So it's the same thing with food. It's like, it's comfort because I feel that it can take, like someone can walk in here and we can totally change their day with the meal that they have and the experience that we provide, So That's what we're trying to do here. I'm trying to offer the stuff that I grew up on, the stuff that people may not be that familiar with in a manner that's acceptable and that they're willing to pay for, Mm-hmm. And that's my whole thing. That's what I'm doing on this corner. On my soapbox, that's what I'm yelling. I'm yelling that Jamaican cuisine doesn't have to be in foil and be stuck out of a window. It's like Asian people don't really eat French fries and wings. That's not what, and it's we do more than just curry goat and oxtails, So in order for me to convey that point, it's we have a jerk duck confit with a sage cornbread waffle and a blueberry compote, because then they could understand. So it's the same flavor profiles. It's just, it's just offered in a different manner. Yeah.
So it's taking those familiar flavors, those things that people know, and they're like, I know what that is. Like, for instance, cornbread has to be done in a certain way or what have you. And you can maybe add this to it. You can add that to it. You can modify it in a way that elevates it, I suppose. But also, it's still at its root. It's still cornbread. It's just done in a certain way. Yeah,
exactly. Like we do a roasted corn and pickled jalapenos in our cornbread. It makes it a little different. Makes it interesting again. Otherwise, it's just left on the plate, you know?
Right. I'm a person that loves cornbread, so you can't be mentioning cornbread. So from what I'm gathering, your cooking philosophy is doing these things like, well, kind of doing something that's new and unique. You don't want things that are left on that plate. And in addition to it, you want to implement those fresh ingredients and those kind of fresh, good techniques. So no microwaves, not really frying anything. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely no fries. No fries.
Gotcha.
Yeah, absolutely no fries. I just want to use the best technique and the fresh ingredients and just give the best meal and the best experience, but still give our guests, our clientele, an idea of who I am. You know, that's what the book is about. That's what Water for Chocolate is. It's to convey an emotion through food, 89 copyright. And that's what we're trying to do here. I'm actually trying to convey something more so with the dinner prefix experience that we do, the 4-course, than the a la carte in the daytime. But with every dish that's on the menu, you know, I feel like I have something to say.
Yeah. And it's good to be able to just, you know, you put something in. It sounds like you really, you know, put your soul into it. And I read that, like, you've been, you know, really cooking in the kitchen for half of your life. There's some real dedication there.
So cooking is what, you know, I was blessed with. Cooking is what I'm good at. I was never formally educated as far as culinary is concerned. I started in the kitchen washing dishes, watching the fry guy drop fries and press the buttons and say, oh, that's how you do that? And then, you know, watching the grill guy tempt steaks and the saute guy make pastas, and you learn, and you know, the best ability is availability, and you make yourself available when they call out. And, you know, that's kind of how it works. It's the kitchen is a place where your effort could really determine your results, you know, and it was a place where I was the guy that when I started working in the kitchen, because I didn't have the benefit of coming out of the culinary schools, like a lot of other guys that I was working elbow to elbow with. I was the guy that if you taught me something, remember, I worked in corporate environments for a lot of corporations, All-Star Cafe, Planet Hollywood, WWF, Dave and Buster's. And in those places, in order for things to run as smoothly as possible, everything is done according to spec. Where the napkins go on the table, where the potatoes go on the plate, everything is spec, right? So I was the guy that once you taught me a recipe, I would memorize that recipe and know it down to the last ounce. I would have the cooks in the back doing push-ups for recipes, like how many ounces of this go. You know, I'm that guy, you know, because I knew I'm the guy that's going to work harder than all the other guys are going to work over, because I know that's what they couldn't take from me. Like, regardless of what else they brought on their resume, they weren't going to outwork me. And it drove me into an executive chef position eventually, you know?
Understood. And putting in that extra work to make up for whatever perceived deficit that's there. Like, you know, people run into that when it comes to being formally trained versus self-taught as a visual artist, for sake of argument. And there's that weird classism, like, oh, you didn't go to art school, but it's like, is that talent right there? Is this person putting in the work? And that's the thing. That's the thing. So that's super legit. So I see shrimp and grits. I see the Jamaican curry cauliflower steak and other great items on your menu. So speak on some of those influences. Obviously, the fresh ingredients, obviously the Caribbean influences, but speak on those influences within your menu and your food.
So there are a lot of things that we grew up with that resonates with me from Jamaica. So when I grew up, we didn't have a lot of money. Jamaica isn't, a wealthy country. And after we gained our independence, there were so many tariffs put on us by the British. It's like, I mean, you're well aware how the economy is doing now. It's not well at all. So a lot of the food I do is I try to take something that's like cassava, for example, right? Or yuca in the US. Cassava is something that we ate because flour just cost too much. You know, we couldn't afford it. Even now, like the other day, I was in Brooklyn and my aunt was sending some barrels home. And I'm like, why are you shipping flour, man? Like the weight, it's going to cost you more than the flour. But in Jamaica, that's how much it costs, that it's actually cheaper for her to pay to ship 50 pounds of flour than them to go to the store and buy, you know? So, yeah, but back to my point. So cassava is something you can grow in your backyard. And what we would do is we would use it instead of flour. We'd grate it down, squeeze the milk out, and it's fine like flour. And then we could make anything with it the same way you would do flour. So I took the cassava on this new menu I'm writing for the fall, and I paired it with a roasted quail with blue agave and orange zest. And for me, it's to be able to take something that the Arawak Indians ate and they passed down to the slaves and they ate it, and pair it with something that's considered high end and put it on the plate. You know, that's all part of it for me, you know? So yeah, we have the Jamaican curry cauliflower steak. That's a vegan option that I have on the menu that's made with coconut milk with the Jamaican curry. And what else do we have? I told you about the jerk duck confit. Yeah. I recently put a new appetizer on kalaloo. Kalaloo is like a green between, are you familiar with that?
I am not, no.
Kalaloo. It's like a green between, kalaloo for us is the collards for the US,
gotcha.
Right? Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So what I have on the menu now is like a braised kalaloo. I braise it off in some duck fat, and then I just serve it with some crispy salmon belly from when we fabricate the salmon, and it's a new appetizer. And just stuff like that really brings back, you know, the stuff I grew up on. So I got to pair it in a manner that is palatable, and then oftentimes pair it with an ingredient so there's a perceived value to it, you know. So of course we can make a living doing it. So yeah, that's what's going on.
Understood. That's great. So what are those steps? Like, I guess maybe from a test perspective, like those steps of when I'm going to add something to the menu, is there a seasonal component to it in terms of having those fresh things? I would imagine having fresh ingredients, having what's in season, obviously, but what's that process look like? And I guess part B would be, what are some of your more popular items that are on that menu currently?
Sure. So as far as the menu goes, you know, I reserve the right. The menu here changes quite often. It's usually seasonal, but you know, I reserve the right. If not, I'll just get a real job and work. You know, but this allows me to do what I really want to do and say the stuff that I really want to say. So we're going in the fall. I'm dropping a new menu now, and oftentimes I akin it to an artist. You know, you go into the studio and you write, and you come out with an album. So, you know, last night I was up 1 till 3, and I'm going over this new menu, and they're all my babies. You know, when something goes on, something have to come off. You know, my background is cost centers. You know, controlling the P&L, affecting the food cost and the labor cost, and bringing that money to the bottom line. That's what I did on a corporate level. So what I need to do here when I put menu items, I can't allow my inventory to balloon. You know, the same parameters are in charge. You know, I can't have one thing on the menu that only goes to one menu items. It has to be used in several different manners. That's all tricks to lowering your food costs. You know,
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. That's the way I was taught. You know, and last night I was up and I'm just trying to figure out what's going on the menu, what's staying, what flavor profiles I'm adjusting. And that's stuff you learn every time you release a menu, and, you know, you get feedback from the guests and the stuff they would rather see or stuff they don't particularly enjoy. And, you know, you just try to, you know, react accordingly.
Yeah, that's taken into account. It's almost like from a corporate standpoint, right? Almost like having those focus groups, or how was this? Like, what are you taking from this? And because, you know, like sometimes people get into a spot where it's a lot of ego, and it's just like, who likes this? Who likes this thing? Why you keep it on there? Or why are you know what I mean? Like, I get it. Like, people can do what they want, you know what I mean? But it's like, people don't like this one item. Take it off.
That is so true.
And,
but chefs are temperamental, man.
Yes. And I talked to a fair amount of them.
It's our nature. Yeah.
I talked to a fair amount of chefs.
I've done that also.
Like, my girlfriend always jokes me. She was like, you have a few of your chef friends a little intimidated. I was like, what do you mean? She was like, because you know what you're talking about and you're a foodie. She was like, it's not a good look. It's like, it's real though. So
yeah, I know. It's the struggle, bro.
Yes. So obviously you're doing big things. You've been doing it for, like 16 years at Water for Chocolate, and, more than 2 decades overall with your flow. So tell me about those like holy grail items. Like, what are those 3 items that's always in your home kitchen?
That's always
3 ingredients.
Okay, let me see. 3 ingredients. Cajun.
Okay.
Cajun seasoning. I use a lot of Cajun seasoning in my food. There's a lot of New Orleans influence. When I wrote the last menu, I actually wrote it in New Orleans. Stayed in a bed and breakfast with a Haitian family, sat at her knee, learned the beignets, and so there's a lot of Cajun. There's a lot of Liam Parents. Because together those 2 create a flavor profile with a little bit of fat. Avocado oil, big fan of avocado oil. There's a lot of that. Duck fat, always duck fat, works magic, We roast a lot of duck here, so, we use the fat for everything from roasting fingerlings to whatever, it just brings great flavor.
See, you said the magic place. Like, I love New Orleans. I go there for my birthday, like, every year. And, you start mentioning that, then, I'm going to have to go there. I'm like, look, man, yo, Sean, I got to lean on you, man. What's up with these beignets? It's like, okay.
Yeah. We had some beignets before last menu. We had some, because I got to do my thing with it. I mean, I went there, I stood on the line. So, I went there, I stood on the line, bro. It was like 3 blocks long. It took me 45 minutes to get in. And then when I got in and I got the beignets, I said, okay, in order for me to do this back, I got to do more to it. You know what I mean? There has to be more to it, So what we did was we hit it with some blue agave, some lemon zest, and some roasted pecans. And it went over well, But it broke the golden rule of no fried items. So it was a short stay, then it had to go.
But that it's almost like, combining with the pecan is almost like the pralines with the beignets. It's almost like those 2 Southern flavors together. Yeah.
Yes. And the blue agave. Exactly.
Uh-huh.
It gave it a nice texture, and people enjoyed it, But it got kind of crazy. They would kind of like try to order it like as an amuse-bouche when they first sit down. And I'm like, whoa, this is out of control. Like I'm frying beignets here, Yeah, so.
I have this running bit for this podcast. I bought an apron that has like my logo on it, but it's like a cooking apron. I'm like, look, I just need to cook with somebody. I'm ready to do it. We ordered the beignets, man.
I'm ready to go.
So now I want to get your take as, a person as a consumer, right? So I know that like chefs, they have those days, chef staff, they have those days where it's an off day. You may want to check out a restaurant locally or so on. So when you go out to eat, what do you always avoid ordering on a menu? Like, you just know that from your kitchen experience, you just know like, nah, that's not great, or I'm going to fill up on bread or whatever. What do you avoid ordering on a menu when you go out for your meals?
Chicken. I never ordered a chicken. Yeah. I never ordered a chicken. Not because I don't feel it's a quality item. It's, it's chicken. Like I'm just not going to go out and order chicken. I'm just not going to do it. I'm just not going to do. I'm not going to go out and pay for chicken. I'm not going to do it. I don't serve chicken here, actually.
I dig it. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, no chicken.
I'm one of those people. If I go out and I have something that's a little like I can home chef it up, and I like, you know, I can do a few things. And when it comes around, I'm like, yo, I'm going to judge what someone did based on if I think I can do it close to how they did it. And it's not a shot.
Okay.
It's more like, you know, I'm not going to go there if I'm going to like a bar and grill or some sports bar. And it's like, yeah, we have these really good quesadillas. It's like, I hope there's something in there I haven't had. Like, I think the last time I went out and got tacos, it was like cactus tacos. I was like, I don't know how to prepare a cactus, so let me try it. And it turned out to be fire.
Exactly. Yeah, well, that's how I actually eat. Like when I go out and eat with friends, and I eat out quite often because I love food. Food is just like, you know, it's life, man. It's like, like my eyes are tearing up. I hope this is filming. I'm being serious, bro. You know, I mean, it's definitely provided me with a livelihood, but it's like, you know, I was hungry as a kid. Like I know hunger personally, you know, and for a while growing up, I would get that familiar burn in my stomach when I came to the US, and it still terrified me, you know. So I knew I was going to work with food, but I just didn't know in what capacity. But like if I go out on a date, I'm going to get dinner because once the food comes, you know, I'm relaxed. I could spit my game. I can't really, you know, it's my comfort zone. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I love food, man. Food is it for me. You know, it's like, I don't understand how people ask it, like, how could you call something sexy? I'm like, what do you mean? You know what I mean? Like, what? Like, you know, what do you mean? Like, you know, this, like I could look at some place and I'm like, oh yes, you know, yeah, absolutely. You know?
I do the I've been doing this recently just to kind of, I can get loose on the weekends and, you know, go out to the dates and all of that stuff. I'll do during the week, I'll do like the meal kits, but I did like a lot of research to kind of get to that place. And most of the meal kits are chicken as the main protein. So I definitely get your notion about like, nah, I don't want to eat chicken when I go out.
Yeah. I don't eat chicken, like, you know, I always try a different protein that I haven't tried before that's just prepared in a different manner. And for me, it isn't so much about, you know, because they expect chefs to be really critical. I try not to be, but you know, you go out, you already got that clock in your head. It's just, especially coming from a corporate background, you know what I mean? How long is the first table visit? And it just goes off in your head. And I definitely try to hide that because I'm here to have a meal. You know, but I'm really like into the meal and I want to try like everything. You know, I want to eat the food.
I will say one of the best things that I can hear in a restaurant is any restrictions. Because, you know, like any dietary restrictions, because I didn't know that until recently because being friends with some of the chefs that I'm friends with, it's just stuff starts coming out of the kitchen. I'm like, yo, what I owe you for this? It's like, oh, no, I just wanted you to try it because I appreciate your palate.
Exactly.
Oh my.
Exactly. Yeah. We love when you eat the food, man. We love it. Like I watch what comes back on the plate and consistently. I'm like, okay, that has to go. They're not a big fan of that, or you know, like I brought the dirty rice back from New Orleans. Yeah, so I try to make it as palatable as possible. Like I'd roast the livers with onions and garlic and deglaze it with Liam Perrins and then introduce it to the rice so everything is fluffy and firm. And it was just like, you know, why is there meat in my rice? They just couldn't wrap their arms around it, and, you know, and then on takeout, it would freak them out. You know, it's like, I'm like, it's dirty rice. You order dirty rice and then you inquire about what's in it, you know? So, yeah.
I mean, there's one thing, because as we're recording this, we're, you know, a few weeks from like those definitely those food oriented holidays. And one of the things, because I'm a non-traditionalist, I definitely put probably $100 to the side, and I go and get a bunch of crab meat. I like to do these smoked crab balls. That's like my specialty. Like I get really busy, and they're kind of a Japanese.
What'd you serve it with?
It's just straight. They're just small, like almost like the hors d'oeuvres. It's usually with nothing. I've done like a remoulade with it, but I haven't perfected it yet. But I don't really put it out there too regularly. But it's got the furikake in it. It has that Japanese flavor. I use the Japanese mayo as a binder, and panko. It works really well. Like they're not there long when they get there, and I'm like, all right. So that's the thing I can really. And using the I use that Traeger smoker, so it just comes out and it's beautiful. It's sexy. It's sexy. So I got two more questions. One is that rapid fire question, but this is the one before it. I see that wine, again, going with the sexy thing, I see that wine and food are a big part of the menu. What's a good example for like maybe advice, right? When you're pairing wine with food, like if someone's like, I don't know what to get with this particular entree, what wine would you recommend? So let's say if I'm going there and I want to get the shrimp and grits, which wine would you recommend me? What's your approach with that recommendation?
Okay. So, the basic thing is, white with seafood and red with beef. But, as the years have progressed, today's consumer is a lot more educated and they could blur those lines more effectively. I try to, like, for me, it's more about taste, and it's like my same approach with food. It's more about my palate than I would say my technique. Like I could tell if it tastes right or if it's balanced. Like our new amuse-bouche is Solomon Agundi. You know that Solomon Agundi born on a Monday, raised on, that thing? Yeah. Okay, cool. So that's a fish pate that we make in Jamaica, right? It's made from red herring. And so we're serving it as a amuse-bouche, and, it's smoked and it's spicy. And we have a Sauvignon on the block that's really crisp, has a nice fruit-forward finish. And it just works well again for me, and that's kind of how I go about the pairing. Because if it tastes good, then it works for me, It just has to taste good for you. Yeah.
That's big. Like that's the thing. Like, I've done tastings and make like coffee tastings and things like that, chocolate tastings recently. And it's kind of like, trust your palate, trust what you like. Don't try to over-educate what your preferences is. Your tongue, your nose, all of that stuff is telling you like this or not. And don't get caught into the weird class thing. Like, I don't know if this pairs. Like, me and my girlfriend all we drink is rosé. That's just what it is. And we shade Moscato.
I love that.
Everything. It's just like, yo, babe, we're having Italian. She's like, well, where's that rosé? It's like, okay, fair enough. I hope it's chilled.
We got a couple of rosés on the portfolio here. We have a rosé cava that we do a cocktail with fresh berries, and we do a house-made sorbet. We do a mango or a lemon. Just hit it with the sorbet in the glass. Put some fresh berries in there, sprig of mint, and pour some of that rosé on it. She's gonna love it, man.
That sounds great. That sounds great. I feel like you're already booking me for a trip over.
Just bring your apron, man. Bring that apron.
I got it. I have it. It's like the Batman costume. It's in my bag all the times. So before we get into this is my last question, and before we after that we will get into the shameless plugs and all of that stuff. But so these are my rapid fire questions. In a way, I've been working these into podcasts recently, and the way that this works is I'll ask you just like a question. You don't have to give it context if you don't want to. So it might be, what is the best whatever? You could just say, this is what I think the best is, and then we move on to the next question.
But I got to do it really quickly.
Basically no context necessarily. All right.
Okay. All right.
Best dessert.
Apple pie.
Okay. That's true. What would your last meal be? If you could plan out that last meal, and I know it's a little morbid, what would your last meal be?
I know exactly what it would be. It would be sardines with water crackers and an avocado, perfectly ripe avocado.
That's an interesting combo right there.
Yeah, how that works for me.
I mean, we see a fair amount of sardines with the can of sardines with the mustard in there with the water crackers.
What?
Yes, hot sauce. Yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah. So, what is your go-to meal when you don't have a lot of time? Like you got 10 minutes, you got to make something. What is that go-to meal for you when you're low on time?
So right now it's duck. I eat a lot of duck, man. I eat duck almost every day. It's probably my favorite protein right now. That changes all the time. I say for like the last 90 days, I've just been eating a lot of duck. We always have a lot on hand, and it's once it's already prepared, it's easy for me to just prepare it with something and go. So there's a lot of confit in my life.
Got it.
Yeah. I eat it for breakfast with eggs. I eat it for dinner. It's just, it's hard for me to eat the same meal 2 days in a row. So it's hard for me to eat like leftovers. I try to make just enough and then that's it. But duck, man, I eat it every day.
I'm on the same page with you when it comes to that. I don't really like leftovers. Like it has to be something insane. Like I don't know how to make biscuits, right? So someone pulls out like a nice buttermilk biscuit, like the black sauce stuff. It's like, look, I'm gonna eat 6 of those.
Oh, word. Yeah, exactly.
Now this is going to be, now these are the controversial questions. I did my research. You know, I talked to my Yardie friends, my Jamaican friends on these.
Okay.
Plantains or cocoa bread?
Cocoa bread.
Yeah. That's on point. Now, this is the tough one. I've only had one of these, so I can't really speak on it too heavy. Oxtail or curry goat?
Oxtail.
Okay, now I need to have oxtail. I've never had oxtail.
You never had oxtail?
Never had oxtail.
I'm putting an oxtail on the menu this morning. This menu where it's going to be, I'm doing an oxtail ravioli with a red wine reduction. So that the meat will actually be in the oxtail. Yes, super labor intensive. So it hasn't actually come to fruition yet, but it's supposed to be on this menu. And I think it would just be an awesome way to present something that's, often taken for granted. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm on the same page. Like if I had the choice between the plantains and the cocoa, always cocoa bread.
Yeah, cocoa bread is good times, man. Good times.
Yeah, absolutely. I judge a place like there's a few like kind of Jamaican spots that pop up in and around Baltimore, and I'm like, cocoa bread. That's the first thing I ask. Yeah.
Party, I'm cocoa bread. What's that about, man?
So that's all the questions that I had, and I want to thank you again for coming onto the podcast. And in that, I'd like to offer you the opportunity to plug away. Where can he find you on social media, your website, and to visit your restaurant?
Awesome. Thank you for the opportunity, first of all. I know I can be difficult at times, but I work a lot of hours every day, bro. We're at 1841 East Lombard. We're in Upper Fells Point. Water for Chocolate, cross street is Wolf Street. You can find us and our cuisine at waterforchocolate.com. If you'd like to eat here, we're reservation only. Reservations are found at opentable.com. If you're interested in dinner for any special occasion, this is a great place to come. We offer a 4-course meal that the menu changes all the time, and we accommodate dietary restrictions per course. And Water for Chocolate.
So there you have it. I want to thank you again, Chef. This has been fantastic.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
So for Chef Sean Guy from Water for Chocolate, I am Rob Lee saying that there is food in and around Baltimore. You just have to look for it.